Welcome to a Yarn Story podcast. I'm Carmen, and this is my co-host Lisa.
Co-host.
Yeah, you're
I'll do that.
co-hosting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I'm back for part 2 with Lisa of This Is Knit here in Dublin. And if you
Thanks
missed,
for coming here,
well,
by the way.
That's
anytime.
Nice. I mean, I'm excited for Guinness later, to be honest.
100%. Me too.
So if you missed episode or part 1 of the episode, we talked all about her crafting history.
Yeah. It sounds like a criminal record.
Crafting journey.
My crafting journey, yes.
In part 1, and now we're going to talk more about the business of yarn.
Down to the serious stuff now. Yeah.
It's kind of my favorite part.
I know it is. I'm excited for this because I'm like, what is she gonna ask?
All right. So for those who haven't watched part 1 and aren't going to go back because maybe they're just here for the business,
all right.
Would you like to introduce yourself again and specifically all of the things in your business?
Ooh, okay. So my name is Lisa and I'm co-owner of This Is Knit in the Powerscourt Centre in Dublin in Ireland. Myself and my mum have had our yarn shop business for 18 years, which is a bit crazy to say. So it's been a journey from very small beginnings. I also do a lot of knitting teaching, more virtually really, in the form of Instagram tutorials, things like our follow-alongs where we do deep dives into different techniques, like even just making your first sweater, doing your first color work. I do a lot of mini tutorials on Instagram on the This Is Knit account, and I also teach with knitting tours. So if you're interested in coming for a retreat to Ireland with a very, not even with a very strong knitting team, with a knitting team, then you can check them out. And also Townhouse Yarns is part of what I do. My sister Jenny, so very much a family business. But we call this our sister brand. So Townhouse Yarns, a beautiful range of hand-dyed yarns. My sister is absolutely the creative drive behind it, and I'm the Excel sheets.
Everybody needs the Excel sheets.
Yes, we do for sure. So it's a nicely symbiotic relationship.
Amazing. Maybe I'll start with how is it running a family business?
Also, yeah, that's an interesting one. It can have its challenges, but I do get asked this a lot, and generally not as bad as people would think. There's a lot of benefits to it. I mean, we're at a fundamental level. Myself, my mum, my sister, we all get along really well. That does help. We're a close family. I have another sister who's not involved in the yarn industry.
Hi, other sister.
So we should give a big wave out to her. We did try and kind of get her into the fold, but she actually went the other way. She works in legal now, so that's part of the backstory. And a brother who lives in San Francisco. And who has absolutely no interest in knitting at all. You can be more brutally honest sometimes with your family, and that can be a good thing. And it can also be a bad thing. But we're still talking to each other 18 years later.
I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
We have each other's backs. I think that's a real key thing, you know. So, like when I was trying to have my babies, and when I had my babies, like mum stood in such a huge way for and really carried a lot of the load at that time, which I'm very appreciative of, and that means that we're still here. And definitely, you know, there's days like here with Jenny where she needs a little bit more help, and we all take it.
Amazing. Yeah. All right, so let's go back to the beginnings of This Is Knit. So you started in a market stall?
We did, yes. And it was very much a case of, let's just see. So total bootstrapping. My friend from college helped us set up a website. His friend did our original logo. And Mum did a start your own business course with we have the local enterprise offices here in Ireland, so they're fantastic. So at the time I was living on the other side of the country, and we were throwing around this idea of, you know, maybe we should open up our own yarn store, but, you know, let's do our literal market research. Let's go and open a market stall. So we did it. There's a town in the south of Dublin called Blackrock, lovely seaside suburb of Dublin.
It's very cool.
It is. It's a funky place. There's a lot of very cool businesses that started from the Blackrock market. And it's covered. It has indoor spaces, so we want to protect the yarn. A lot of markets are outside. So we live an hour on the other side of Dublin, but we were driving down there. 5 a.m. starts, 6 a.m. starts, hauling the yarn.
Did you have to set up?
We did. You
so
theoretically could have left your stuff there overnight.
Okay.
Because it was a Saturday and Sunday market. But we didn't feel happy doing that. We had like the open space, because it was a stall in like a big hall essentially. So we were mad enough we took it. It's precious yarn. Why would we leave it there?
It is precious yarn, so that is a lot of work.
It was. It really was. There was a lot of very early starts, and a lot of very cold days. But thankfully, we had knitwear.
So what did you learn running a market stall like that first?
What was, I suppose, the amazing thing sort of because we sort of dove in and sort of maybe there's other people out there like us who also like this yarn. And what was amazing was finding those people and the level of support that you would get from them. We literally had, direct conversations about, okay, well, we started with brand A and brand B. What other brands would you like to see? And people were really generous with their time and their recommendations, feedback, so you were building relationships from the very start. Just learning on the job, because Mum and I both have like strong backgrounds in customer service and customer service roles, but had zero experience of retail. Like I've never worked in a clothes shop. There's nothing, we've been in service industry jobs in restaurants, bars, airlines. And so, still to this day, customer service is a massive, massive like rock, like anchor, I suppose, to what we do.
I'm just going to say that there's no one doing customer service better than Lisa and her team.
And my team, we're so lucky.
They are absolutely like the gold standard by which all retail should measure themselves, quite frankly.
Oh, that's high praise. Thank you.
It's true though.
Thanks. But it's really fundamental. We want to take care of people, and so that's what we do. But the retail side, a lot of learning on the job on that. Yes.
Do you remember what brands you stocked?
I do. We started with Debbie Bliss.
Okay.
And we got in Noro, and then I think shortly after that we might have done. I don't think we did Louisa Harding at the start, and then Rowan was really highly requested, so that was the next. But it was tricky at the start because you literally, again, we had no background at this, and you're approaching brands and they were going, but who are you and what are you doing? And like this is even just finding out that like what are your prices and what are the minimums? Like I found I struggled with it because I'd never gone through that process of approaching brands before. So but we did.
Order minimums are bigger than you might think.
Yes, they are absolutely. So we invested a little bit of money in at the start, and then what we did, because I was working part-time still, my mum Jackie was working part-time, we reinvested everything that we made. The first, I don't know, year or 2 years maybe, we paid ourselves like a little stipend in year 2, but every single sale, everything went back in to expanding the range, expanding where we were, because we'd started with a stall in a shared space, and there were these cabins that you could take, so we moved there in the market. And then as the demand grew, there was 2 more permanent units. It was the old Garda station, police station.
Okay.
And so there was a room on either side of that. And then we took one of those rooms and started opening 5 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long were you in Blackrock?
So June 2006 until actually a full 2 years, but with the caveat that after a year and a half, we opened a small shop in Dublin city centre.
Okay, so and 2 locations.
Yes, we ran the 2 locations side by side for 6 months with myself, Jackie, and Aileen. There's 3 of us, cycling, between the 2. But I was quite keen. I think you probably experienced this where a shop that you love, suddenly you rock up one day and it's closed up, and there's a new tenant, nobody knows what's going on. And you just think they're closed, they're gone. So 6 months was maybe a little excessive, but we ran that so we could get people used to the concept of, well, we're in Dublin, and then the shop in Dublin was too small
Okay.
to have all of the operations. We wanted to do classes and all of that. So when we had the chance to take the neighbouring unit in the Dublin city centre location, that's when we closed up Blackrock and moved wholesale. Moved into.
Is
Dublin.
that where you are now?
No,
Okay.
it's not. So it was September 2008 when we moved into the tiny unit in the Powerscourt Centre. So it's the same building.
Yeah.
And then it was the following June that we took over the neighbouring unit as well.
But you've been in Powerscourt since 2008.
Yes.
Okay. So for those of you who haven't been to Dublin,
come.
Well,
first of all,
visit
come.
Dublin, one, and two, Powerscourt Centre is in like the dead center of Dublin. It's right off of Grafton Street, which is a super famous street.
Yeah.
Big shopping there, big retailers, like high end. This is not where you usually find a yarn shop.
Yeah. I clearly, again, not knowing anything about retail, went, but I think the Powerscourt Centre, it's a little bit different. I mean, it's amazing location. But all bar, I think it's still true. I think at the time we moved in, all bar 2 of the units in there were occupied by independent, like owner-operated businesses.
Yeah.
So it always has had that culture of supporting independent retail. Amazing. Please, more places do that.
Absolutely.
It just brings character and life and variety to city centre locations, which is really dying out, and it's really unfortunate. But I think it's pretty much the same. It's a really strong supporter of Irish businesses and local operators. So, but a gorgeous building. Like, I can't
absolutely
believe.
Stunning. So for those of you who don't know either, I used to live in Ireland, and my the whole yarn story journey, if you haven't read about it, actually starts at This Is Knit.
Little influence.
Because I was bored and my mom came because my mom came to visit. She's like, I'd like some Irish yarn, and I was like, okay. So I was Googling, and I took her to something in the middle of nowhere that just had acrylic first.
Yeah.
And then it turned out there was something in the town center, and so we drove in, and I remember following Google Maps and being like, I go in this building all the time. Like, how have I not noticed the yarn shop? Like, I used to go to the cafe in the center.
Yeah.
And I used to shop at All Saints. That was
across. They're still there. Yeah.
Quite a lot. And I had just never noticed you guys before. Sorry.
Put it on your radar.
I hadn't been there all that long, and I wasn't knitting at the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, what we've been able to do, I suppose, is take, because it's a converted Georgian building, right? So and there's a whole courtyard thing in the middle, and it's not your traditional shopping centre. So you're not going to see the standardized shop window next, as you would in out of town shopping centres. So there are some certain units that are quite tucked away a little bit, off the beaten track, and maybe not immediately obvious. And then there's restrictions on what we can do in terms of signage and kind of the presence in it. But I will take all of that for the lovely building. And what we've been able to do, I think, because knitting is something that people, when you're keen on it, you will seek out the yarn shop.
Absolutely find it,
become a destination shop. So, people who are motivated find us.
Well, and my mom was motivated, and so I found you.
Yes.
And she picked out a project with some lovely Irish yarn. And I still distinctly remember you had a scarf in a beigey color on the side. And I kept picking it up, and I was like, I could do that. I want to turn it into a cow. I want to do something chunkier. I was already
thinking like a knitter.
Yeah. Well, because I had this very crafty childhood, so it wasn't out of the realm of possibility for me to be like, I can make something a little slightly different. And I bought, I think it was Debbie Bliss Aaron. Something.
Yeah.
And I made that cowl.
Good woman.
Never looked back.
And then the rest is history.
Basically, it's all Lisa's fault. In part 1, you talked about how you got back into knitting when you were in New Zealand. And you talked about how you found a little yarn shop and you walked past the window 3 times because you were kind of intimidated.
Yeah.
And then you finally went in. And I think that story must be your origin story, because there's no one more welcoming and more sort of you come in and do this and less intimidating a space. I found that when I was first starting, you guys were always just so welcoming and helpful. So tell me a little bit about that philosophy. And
I mean, we just fundamentally want to help people. It's in our DNA, I think, and I kind of say, even just the words to say as a company feels like doesn't roll off my tongue. I think like as a team, as a hub in a crafting community, that's so strong in it's like just what we do, and if that person is somebody who's coming in and is really uncertain and not sure, like I was when I first went in, we sort of want to take you under our wing and mind you, and but also because we're so clearly obsessed obsessed is the right word, what we do, we love company in that zone. We want to welcome more people into that. Knitting just it gives you so much, I feel, and okay, 100% it's not for everybody, but if it is your thing, oh my gosh, is it your thing, and there is that, like, those connections that you make. People come into the shop like off flights, they come in from the States, and there'll be another person there with, local from Ireland, and they are chatting and they are getting on like a house on fire, within 2 minutes. It's like, oh, I love your cat. Oh my gosh, what yarn is that? And it just breaks down.
Suddenly there's like best knitting buddies.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I love when that happens.
And actually, similar to your story of where you were in Dublin and didn't know a lot of people, and then you came and you found us, and then you got introduced to other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are so many of our customers that like can tell a similar story of where coming into it like a new city, just finding their people through, and it's a shop. It is a shop, but it's so much more.
It is absolutely so much more. It's what they call a third space.
A third space.
Yes.
I feel like I've heard that, but I don't.
Yeah, it's basically you have like your home and your work, and then there's third space. I hope I'm defining this correctly, but there's third spaces in the community that are absolutely important and like sort of anchoring points for people to gather and connect and find community. And yarn shops are absolutely 100%. One of those third spaces.
Yeah. I would think they're extremely important, but they are.
They are very important.
Yeah.
Okay. You were uncomfortable calling yourselves a company.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you are a company.
We are.
You are clearly a successful company.
We're doing okay.
You are in business 18 years later. You did a rebrand and a big refit of the shop last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Time flies.
It really does.
And we are currently sitting in your new warehouse office dye studio.
Yes. Business unit, I suppose.
Business unit.
Call it that. Yes, because it does. It has many hats.
It does have many hats.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah. I don't know how it happened. No. I've always been, I think we talked in part one as well, like I just want to be doing stuff.
Yes.
I like to keep busy. I also need to moderate that sometimes, my own health and well-being as well. But I don't like to sit still. I want to kind of move on and see what we can do next. Certainly, I think what happened in terms of the refit, there were the COVID years. We did obviously have to trade online during that time, and being our only option. And I felt like we evolved so much in the online space over those years that then the shop itself sort of lagged behind in, I don't know, the image that we were putting out.
Yeah, I get that.
And so it was like dug into this. No, I want to do a refit, and that is not a cheap thing to do. But we had, talking about the origin story of coming up through the market and everything, we had always bootstrapped, always tried to make sure, the money was coming, like minimal business loans. I think we took one when we moved into the Powerscourt Centre, when we took the larger unit, but like very, very lean.
Yeah.
Okay. And reusing units. There's some stuff. There is actually still a yarn unit, 2 of them from our very early days.
I love that.
Upstairs for in the packing room now. Yeah. It's storing envelopes and different things like that. So, there's a, I don't like to be wasteful, environmentally conscious, all of that. But yeah, so taking that leap to do the shop refit, was a lot. And certainly like when I started getting the quotes, there was a day when I got a quote, and I went, oh, well, that's that then. No, never going to happen. And I went and I threw myself in the sea, in a good way, a reset way. But then I sat with it for a while and went, okay, well, this is what things cost, and trying to have that level of confidence in what we built up already to kind of go, I think we can make this work.
Yeah.
Not being afraid, looking at the fact that we'd come through COVID and we still had a business.
Yes.
We still had a very, thankfully, loyal following, and contacts in our industry. There's all of these, like I was like listing like all of the reasons why, we should be confident about doing this, which I struggle with, that sort of self-belief. And so we went for it. And it's really, really worked out. And I'm very pleased with how it all turned out. And so delighted with, because there was an option, there's sort of really long quotes, and there was an option, all of this money, and then we can project manage it for like this extra bit of money. Yeah. Or do you want to project manage it? I was like, do you know what? In for a penny. So
I'm already paying you that much.
And it was realizing and maturing, I think, as a business owner, and knowing like, where are my strengths? Where should I be focusing my energy on? And that ain't in chasing carpenters, right?
No, it's not.
So so we went with Restless Design, lovely people, so good, and really great to work with. And then they worked with Pridecraft Construction, just to give them a shout out if anybody's looking, because like when you find people, we were talking about leaving reviews.
Yes.
100% recommend. And we moved out. The centre very kindly gave us our old unit back to put our first stuff in.
Well, that's the hard part about a renovation too, is you like,
we're gonna put everything.
Put this stuff. Places.
But that was we finished up on the Saturday, and 10 days later they gave it back to us.
That's fast. And it's really fast. Yeah,
and it was like everything was repainted, refloored, refit, everything. Wow. And then it took us another three or so days to kind of get back up and running.
Yeah.
But the cost, I think, of paying them to project manage it, like obviously the longer you're closed, you're actively losing money, basically. And to get that sort of turnaround was fantastic, and the whole team amazing. So after being terrified of it, very glad we did it.
What are some big challenges you've had over 18 years? Do some things stand out?
I do. Well, some terrifying moments. I remember one of the early, we did a lot of knitting and stitching shows when they were coming to Dublin. And I remember going into that weekend kind of thinking, if we don't make a certain, like I don't know, do we make it through Christmas? We don't take in a certain amount of that. So there was definitely been those moments of, we've flown a little too close to the sun here, or like it's just a little too tight cash flow wise. So that's always going to be a challenge for any small business. But
that still happens.
I have. Yes.
I'll admit that happens to us.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay.
There's days you kind of come in and go, okay. But it's a lot of the time it's, there's just a little bit of, some of the planning's gone a little bit astray of like where the expenditure has to come out before, you can cover that. So it does, but I've become, and I'm going to go way back to in school. I was very academic and like loved most things. Not Irish, but yeah. I think anybody who's in Ireland might sympathise with me on that one. But we do a thing in school here, transition year. So it's in between your exams that you do around age 15, and then you have your senior cycle exams. But transition year is most schools do it now, but it was a pilot program when I did it. Which is kind of like this break, a little bit not so academic. They take you out, do more sort of practical stuff, and you can try different subjects that maybe you didn't do in your junior cycle. And so business studies was one of those subjects. Hated it.
Yeah.
Hated it. Yeah, really just didn't gel with me at all. And
yet here we are now.
And yet here we are now. But some of those things that I really didn't like about, I've forced myself to, like, because I'm creative, I like to move, I don't like to be restricted. But really having to sit down and be a lot more organized about budgeting and organized about cash flow and has been really beneficial, to be fair, so it's a type of the side of the business, I'm not going to enjoy, but it has to be done, and it allows us to keep going and to do more creative things. So
do you have a top tip for people on the financial side? Money management.
Money management. There is a book. I recommend it to you. And it's called.
You need to sort it out. I really do.
So that's a book called Profit First. Again, I hated this concept. Profit. But like, if you are not
in profit, then there is no point in doing it. I mean,
exactly.
I say this all the time too with like products we bring in the shop, and like either because that pricing is like my personal.
I know. Carmen Pricing Schmidt.
Yeah. She showed me a new yarn today and I said, "What's the price?" And she said, "I don't know." And I was like, "Well, then how do I know if I want it or not?"
I don't know it off the top of my head. Oh my God. That's like pre-Barcelona. I figured that out and it's on a spreadsheet somewhere.
I'm sure it is. No, I'm just teasing. But, because I always like, it doesn't matter how much I love something because if the price isn't right, there's no point in selling.
100%. Yeah.
I don't actually know where I was going with my question on that front.
Oh, but if you're not in profit, then like,
if you're not in profit, then there's no point in doing it because you won't be able to pay your staff or your suppliers or yourself.
And do you know what kills creativity? Stress.
Yes.
Right?
So yes, it does.
You can't have fun with your business.
No.
And you can't like bring joy and energy to your customers if you're not taking care of that,
Absolutely.
So that's learning curves. Yeah. So that book, I mean, like when did I read it? It's only about 2.5, 3 years ago, I think, but it clarified some things for me. And it's actually from a personal budgeting side of things. I had been using this app for a long time called You Need a Budget.
Okay.
So tell the recommendation here, I should get the affiliate link. Let's get the affiliate link going. So they abbreviated to YNAB. So You Need a Budget. And it's actually recommended. Back when I used to be on that platform that I won't go on anymore. The platform formerly known as, right? It was somebody in the yarn industry that kind of went, "Oh, I'm looking for a recommendation." And Casey from Ravelry was singing the praises as well. And I kind of went, "Well, they like, I think, so that's a long way around to say, definitely, if you hate the concept of budgeting, use YNAB. It's brilliant. It's really good. It's allowed on a personal level, like that visibility of my finances that I just didn't have before. And then I could see how you can use that to apply the profit first method in your business.
Yeah.
And visibility was always what caused me stress. Is that at any one point, I didn't really know.
That is a really hard part about running your own business.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I really like about Profit First is I haven't done all the worksheets, but I have read the first part.
Yeah.
Is that because everybody says, "Oh, like your accountant has that info," but that is always the history of things. It is not telling you the money you have in your bank account right now. It's not telling you how much budget you have to spend.
Yeah.
It's not really telling you what's coming in or out. And I think
not giving you the information on which you can base a strategy.
Yes.
For your thinking. Yeah.
And that is, so your accounts and your bookkeeping are a historic record.
Yeah.
And they're not really telling you, what you can do. But that mind shift, because I don't know about you, but I've had things from my account before and they're like, "You've made this much profit." And I'm like,
"Where is it?"
Because it's not in my bank account. Like, where did it go? And I know that's a really common story amongst entrepreneurs. Like, we're not weird.
I know. And now you have to pay tax on the money that you didn't know that you had or that you were supposed to have. Yeah.
How does that work? So the Profit First method is all about like the money you actually have to use and figuring out how to see that in a better way.
And to prioritize how you want to use that money as well. So to make sure that you're they call it like in YNAB it's giving your dollars a job, right?
I
So
like that.
so you've got to give them a role. I mean, it's basically the jars, right?
Yes.
So but digitally,
Yeah.
and you don't have to go and open for the profit first. You don't have to go and open different actual bank accounts. So you can just sort of nominally have
my
them.
accountant really hated when I did that.
Yeah, they're not fans.
Retract
Yeah.
that
Okay.
plan.
Yeah, so you don't have to. We should have talked about that more at the time. Yeah. We got some time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that I think getting your finances in order is key. I mean, you're not going to last 18 years.
No,
if
absolutely not. No.
You don't have a financial plan. Like you can be as creative as you want.
Mm.
You can have the best product.
Oh yeah. And tons of enthusiasm and customer service left, right, and center. But
and you can have a good following. But if you don't have the numbers and the money figured out, it like doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's it. You're not going to be here tomorrow. So and we want to be here tomorrow.
We definitely want to be here tomorrow. For multiple reasons.
Absolutely, because yarn shops are important.
Yeah. And I don't want to go back to working.
I think we're fundamentally unemployable now.
We really are.
I was thinking about this. It's like there's no way you ever go back. No.
I cannot
after this
having a boss.
No. Can't cope.
Definitely not.
Oh dear.
Oh man. You have also diversified quite a bit in what you do.
I have.
Well, yeah, you have a yarn shop.
Yes.
And you talked to us about teaching.
I did, yes.
And then you guys have an in-house hand-dyed yarn brand. And you did run some events.
Yes, we did. Yes. Yeah.
So that is diversification.
Okay.
In case you didn't know.
Sometimes I don't like to think about it too much because it's a lot.
So tell us why you have done all of these things.
Okay, so back to just for the love of it a little bit. Woolen, the festival that we ran definitely came out of that just desire to get people together. But the desire to get them together here, like in Dublin. I was working from home more with my kids, so there was a little bit of it made a lot more sense. It was something that I could do from home and not have to be physically in the shop as much, because the shop, when I have small children, and the shop is an hour kind of long haul commute, and so part of that was informed by, well, here's something I can bring to the table. And from the hand-dyed yarn perspective, Jenny came to us with that idea. Okay. So my sister Jenny ended up working in the shop one weekend because we were really short-staffed and we just needed some help. And she wasn't in the yarn world at all. And I don't know, 14 years later maybe?
Well, it is because I met Jenny in the shop when she was also just getting into knitting. I remember we would sort of
bounce off each other a little bit.
I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Was this well, we can do it together. Yes. But Jenny's background was that she used to she trained as a colorist, so in hair salons. So there's a lot of the technical knowledge there that comes to it, and she is definitely she's super creative.
She's super creative.
I've always liked making, but she has this affinity for color and just there's some really
unusual colors up here on the wall. I don't think we can see all of them, but these are not your standard.
No, she's got there's moments of magic. Definitely, she kind of bring up, and she's been developing some new colors recently as well, and she's oh, I love that one, and you just kind of go, how do you see that, and but also the technical side of it as well, because it's not just you can't just throw a bit of color, she has to understand how different acid levels, water levels. She tells me about it, and I think she's let me dye yarn once. And I did used to dye yarn actually, but we used to do Dublin Dye Company when we were in Blackrock.
Knit a pair of socks out of that yarn.
Yes. They're a piece of history. But it was kind of a community based thing, because there was a couple of us who did it. We rented there was a room above in the garden station, the old garden station above us, with the water nymphs. We used to run workshops there, and then we started using the kitchen for dyeing. We had no clue what we were doing. We had zero clue, but we had fun. And so it was myself and Alana and Yvonne McSweeney. Then she kept it going for a number of years after that as well. So, but yes, so as diversification, yes, I just like to try new things.
And just briefly, are you happy to tell us why woolen is no longer?
Yeah, no, it's several reasons. I mean, it's no one thing. So obviously, when COVID came around, so we were due to hold the festival in June 2020, and March 2020, everything shut down.
Speaking of, I actually came across a promo video that we had made for that event very recently. I was like going through something, and I was like, "What is this video?" And I watched it, and I was like, "Oh no!" The promo video we'd recorded.
I will tell you, my heart was broken. We had put so much work into that already. I mean, like events like this, they really they take 9 months or more to really bring together. So we had a lot had gone into it. So it was heartbreaking, and for event organizers everywhere of all different types, it hit hard. My son was also in hospital quite ill at the time, and I was trying to manage all of the fallout from everything. And anyway, that's on the personal note. But we did still want to bring it back. We postponed it for a year. Of course, a year later, things still weren't very clear about the safety levels. And then when it came back around to 2 years later, the war in Ukraine had broken out, which you wouldn't think would have an impact on the Yarn Festival. But it didn't, because in Ireland we took in rightly, I feel, quite a high number of refugees from the war, and they were generally being accommodated in hotels, because we don't have the emergency accommodation for that. So for a festival that's an international festival, you asked for briefly.
This is super interesting. I didn't know this part of the story.
Yeah, you need to have that accommodation easily accessible and affordable, so that people can come and shop and enjoy themselves. And still have some money left to spend with the vendors. And so that was another blow. And Brexit, because our pool of vendors is absolutely among more experienced operators like themselves, but like some smaller indie operators. And there has been, even when the UK was in the EU, paperwork and headaches in relation
to much paperwork.
To VAT registrations and all of that, which we were absolutely helping people out with as much as we could from the role of the organisers. But to add in,
just VAT deregistered in Ireland, like 3 months ago.
There you go.
Finally.
That's well and really over then.
Yeah, well, I had to sit there and I was like, okay, do I still need this admin task of like every 3 months? Zero.
Yeah.
I just thought I don't.
No. Well, we've had to register for UK VAT. But yeah, that was so. I mean, there's 3 prongs really. It was so it was sort of cut after cut after cut, and we just had to kind of go, look, we can certainly consider running smaller events in the future with Irish vendors. But I know that it's just a level of commitment and cost and time and paperwork for UK vendors to come over here. The Knitting and Stitching Show, which is organised by a large, events management company, doesn't happen in Dublin anymore. They've moved it to Belfast. Yeah. So,
because they're a UK based.
They are a UK based.
They're owned by one of the publishers now. I don't remember which. Might be Future.
That sounds familiar.
I think it's Future.
Okay. Yeah.
It could be wrong.
So, but you also kind of feel if they can't figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And a lot of logistics and a lot of management of people.
I said, Aisling, we were at Barcelona Knits Festival. I'm not sure when this is going out, but it was on quite recently. And this morning, so Aisling does a lot of our customer service, like the messages through the website and chat. And a lovely person had asked, are you planning on having woolen again? Because I'm visiting Ireland and I would time it to coincide with that. Usually at this stage, Aisling would kind of go, I'm terribly sorry. And it is lovely that people are asking. Yeah. And I was like, how come you sent that to me? Because she sent it on to me.
Yeah.
She said, just checking before I say no. And I was like, I thought we'd had this conversation several times. And she says, yeah, but I saw a glint in your eye in Barcelona.
Nah. It is though. Sometimes your team members, you've like that has happened to me too. I'm like, no, this is not what we're doing. We've closed the door, and then they're like, but, and then suddenly we're doing something again.
Yeah. It's never say never. Yeah. But currently, no.
Okay.
There's too many things working against us, unfortunately. And the older version of me, which would not have been so focused on the financials,
Yes.
would have done it for the love of it.
I love that you have evolved in that way. That's great.
You know, makes other people sad, but
Well, yeah. But again, an event like that has to make sense for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's not just that it has to make sense for you and your team, but like all of the vendors. Like there's
100%.
so much pressure.
Oh my gosh.
On
the sleepless nights.
Yeah. Because if vendors don't make money, they're really upset.
Mm-hmm. And I felt that so hard, where it was like people, I know the effort and the work and the time and the sleepless nights the vendors have in preparing for events like that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes maybe it's better to be an organizer of an event like that where you've never vended,
maybe, or you don't personally know people.
Yeah, but you feel a lot of responsibility, a huge amount. And I mean, your van was broken into. Oh my god. Oh my
God! I've never actually told that story publicly.
Have you not?
No.
Oh, sorry, I'll say nothing.
No, it's totally fine. We can side note into that. That was the second one.
Yeah.
It was the end of the show. We were packing up.
Yeah.
At a hotel. We packed up the entire van, and I closed the door, went to lock it, and the lock wasn't there anymore.
Yes.
So someone had broken into the van hoping something was in there, but the van had been empty when they broke into it.
Thankfully.
I actually, because obviously I unlocked it to start with, so I think it got broken into somehow.
Like really quickly.
Like as we were...
It was getting dark.
It was stuff. Yeah. So there might have been like some shelving in there that they didn't want. And then we had to, because we couldn't drive it, the door didn't stay closed. It didn't stay secured. We had to unload the entire van back into the hotel.
After a whole show weekend, after packing everything up.
Thankfully, the bar was full of helpful people. Yeah. And all the knitters came out and unloaded the van.
There was a human chain.
There was a human chain of like boxes and grid wall and this, that, and the other.
And the hotel gave us a room to stock it in.
Yeah.
They were really good.
They were really good.
I just remember you having a moment of going, like, Stephen West is just coordinating people to lift boxes.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing. Like, someone basically I was, like, the police were there. I was talking to people, and I turned around, and, like, someone had just gone into the bar and said, like, they need help. Like, everybody out. Yeah. And all of a sudden, there were like 30 people.
It was actually a wonderful moment. When you look in amongst all of that and you look at it now, it was just that's the yarn industry at its best.
It absolutely is. Yeah. And they were lovely, but the rental car company wasn't.
I remember.
Yeah. So we obviously couldn't drive the van home back to the UK. This was pre-Brexit.
Yes.
And I spent the whole next day on the phone with the rental car company, basically telling me I wasn't in Europe or something like that, and I was trying to argue geography with them.
Oh, fun, exactly what you needed on top of everything else.
Yeah, and we needed to get back. We had like a ferry booked, and we lost our entire like fun day in Dublin for this, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And the
you had to drive to Belfast.
Yeah, so the solution that the rental car company had for me was we could pick up a car at Dublin Airport.
Yeah.
Drive to Belfast, where they would give me a car, not a van, a car. We would drive back down to Dublin, return the first car. So I ended up with like some sort of an SUV.
Okay.
So not a van.
Yeah.
We left like furniture behind.
I remember now, yeah.
We took the yarn. A couple of people who'd still had like space in their cars and vans heading back near me in the UK had taken a few things. And then, we got back. And the rental car company was basically like, it was the manager at that enterprise that like really did my head into, because I just got a load of shit from her actually about the whole thing. But that event meant that we lost money on the event.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's nobody's fault.
No,
right?
No. But the thing is, as the organizer, like stuff like that happens. Oh my God. Well, I feel it. Maybe not everybody would. We had, I think in year one, somebody's boxes didn't show up.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Was that Travel Knitter? I think.
It was Travel Knitter.
It was Travel Knitter, and then again, people rally around and they say, say go buy something on their website and they do that, and it's amazing, and it could just completely not be your fault, but you still feel it.
Yeah, you feel really bad. And there's
Yeah.
like literally nothing to do about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, also if we weren't as robust a business as we were, that could have really, really hurt. I mean, it wasn't great. I'm not saying like, I can just go to events and lose money, but
no, it's hard, and it's hard in the way that exams are hard. Like, isn't it? It's because it all comes down to what happens on those days.
Yes.
And 9 months of planning and work and stuff can be wiped out by bad weather or by a public transport strike or by so why did I do this?
It's okay, you're not doing it anymore.
But it's it's the all down on the day things, but at the same time it's such a buzz. It's such a buzz.
Yeah, and we both love attending events. And ending at them.
Absolutely.
So,
when it goes right, it's magic.
Yeah.
It is magic.
And you get to see all the people. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like you get to be out there with customers and community, and that's the best part.
So, but I think smaller.
Yeah. I'm not driving any more vans to Dublin.
That's fair.
Not from the UK. Yeah. I mean, we could definitely waffle on for absolutely ever here, but we probably want Guinness and dinner.
We do.
So I will ask you one last question, and that is, if you could give someone starting a new retail business, not necessarily a yarn shop, but a new retail business, one piece of advice that like you wish you had earlier, one piece of knowledge, maybe, what would it be?
Ooh, that's toughie. I think, funnily enough, and I have been thinking about this a little recently because we're, at 18 years, you start to like look back. I think don't go in underfunded.
Yes.
Even though that's exactly what we did. We did.
What everybody does.
Yeah. But looking back at those 18 years, I think maybe we could have gotten where we are now sooner. Having that little bit of faith in ourselves, maybe, that we were missing. So it takes more money than you think.
It does.
It takes a lot of your time and energy, and the classic meme of, hey, I gave up working 9 to 5 so I could work 24/7. It's all consuming. But there's so much good in it, and so much worthwhile, and you can build your own community, which is something that a lot of people are missing.
They are,
absolutely, and we need that. So, but just try not to go in underfunded.
And by underfunded, do you mean like save up longer of your own personal money to put in, or like don't be so fearful of taking out a bigger loan, or like finding funding?
Finding funding is a big thing, and I there were definitely supports out there from government organisations, at least in Ireland, that
you have
wasn't aware of at the time.
Really good support here in Ireland.
Yes,
I think Scotland and Wales have similar stuff. England doesn't.
I find that so crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like really dig into your research. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. I was so much like feeling like I was going to get found out, right? So it's like, I'm a total imposter. I just have to be over here in my corner doing a thing, and then and so much more good has come my way as I've put myself out there a little bit more. And I said to you, was it this time last year? I'm terrified of networking. I can't do it.
Yes, it was this time last year.
Literally terrified of networking, and that's something that I've just dove into so much this year.
You have had some incredible experiences on that front this year.
Yeah. So you've got to keep doing what you feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah. And if you're taking out a bank loan, take out more than you think you need.
Take out what they'll give you.
Take out what they'll give you. Because you will need it.
Yeah, the cost of everything goes up. There's all sorts of unforeseens, even development of here. That it's that they're just going to crop up. So you've got to factor that in.
I think the thing I was most surprised by when I was I had done budgets, I'd put all things in spreadsheets.
So good.
And then I went to start my ordering. Right, I had a budget for things, and I got to the needles.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that is so much more than I expected it to be.
Because you need them in this length and that length and the other size and that material. And
so there's always something that pops up that is more than you think it's going to be.
100%. Yeah. There's always unforeseens, but you gotta dive on in there.
And it's really fun running a retail shop, isn't it?
Oh, it is for sure. And just do that thing. Ask for help, and that's, don't be afraid to admit you don't know. Don't be like me.
We all do that, though.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing all about your business with
I hope it's useful to other people out there, and the yarn industry absolutely needs more people to come on and in, and
we need more knitters.
We need more knitters, and yes, and just more people diving into the industry.
Absolutely.
So,
so you can follow Lisa at This Is Knit on Instagram. All of her handles and stuff will be down below anyways. Down there. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel and share us with your friends.
Absolutely. What Carmen's doing is great. Keep following.
See you next time.